It was a sideways sort of morning in the village of Otherwise, where umbrellas wore shoes so their shadows wouldn't catch a cold. The sun rose in the shape of a question mark, which confused everyone except the morning paper, which read itself aloud, skipping all the vowels. Mildred, a pancake, who preferred rollerblading to being eaten, strapped on her sparkly elbow pads and zipped out her front door, careful not to trip over her pet dictionary. Webster, who stubbornly refused to define anything before noon. Today was the annual celebration of misplaced marbles, and the town square was bustling. Jellybeans conducted their own parade, leading a marching band of alarm clocks, all set to a different time zone. The mayor, a kangaroo with a telescope and impeccable taste in hats, was already attempting to swim through a fountain of alphabet soup in search of the elusive silent Q. On her way past the tuba garden where brass bass bloomed instead of flowers, Mildred was stopped by a traffic jam of dueling shopping carts, both convinced they were a better octagon. "After you," said one cart politely, "but only if I can do it first." Webster, the dictionary, began barking out random page numbers, attracting the attention of a nearby porcupine who sold invisible sandwiches for imaginary money. Suddenly, a double-decker bicycle zipped past, ridden by a team of synchronized ducks in monocle. A mysterious map fluttered down from the bicycle's basket, alighting on Mildred's head. It was a spinning map to the supremely unnecessary pyramid, with the words, "Turn left until you're right," written in ever-shifting ink. Mildred slicked back her syrup and rolled confidently over to the dueling shopping carts. Webster, the dictionary, ambling along at her side, still muttering, "Page 37, page 204. The two shopping carts were locked wheel to wheel, arguing in elaborate geometry. The first, a sleek chrome model with fluffy dice and a spare umbrella in the basket, insisted octagons are clearly superior because they have almost enough sides to make a dodecahedron. Jealous. The second, a vintage green cart decorated with bumper stickers reading "Honk if you love paradoxes," retorted, "Any proper octagon must also be an existential crisis with wheels." Mildred cleared her throat with a sound like thunder having second thoughts. "Perhaps what you really need," she said, "is a ruling from a neutral, syrup-powered observer with no vested interest in polygons." Webster barked, coughed up a bookmark, and declared, "Race judicata decision by Pancake." The crowd of tuba blossoms, jellybean parade marshals, and 3 magisterial garden gnomes leaned in closer. The mayor, still dripping alphabet soup, paused her search for the silent Q to watch. Just then, both carts turned toward Mildred and, in unison, declared, "Arbitrate our shape-based dispute, and we'll grant you passage to the Isle of Forgotten Cheeses." Realizing the opportunity for adventure and perhaps a snack, Mildred struck a decisive pose. "Contestants, perform your finest octagon impression and throw in a haiku about existential uncertainty." The chrome cart twirled in a dazzling figure eight, lost track, then settled into a sort of wobbly sprint, singing 8 sides, or are there less? Circle and V blurs all truths. Who is counting, friend? The vintage cart spun only thrice and toppled over, flinging a can of existential soup into the air before reciting, "I once was a shape. Lines, corners, and wheels have made me round." The crowd erupted in thoughtful applause. The mayor saluted the tuba blossoms. Webster, teary-eyed, defined ambiguous 3 different ways. Mildred pronounced her verdict. "There is no winner except for anyone currently observing this cart ballet. The true shape is the friends we made along the way. Let the carts proceed. The shopping carts hugged awkwardly, one setting off its umbrella, the other beeping with confusion. The aisle of forgotten cheeses awaits, they chimed. And a trapdoor between two cobblestones opened to reveal a spiraling ramp made of cheddar and riddled with puns. Mildred popped her rollerblades into high gear and wheeled cheerfully over to the bickering shopping carts. Both carts spun in noble, squeaky circles, brandishing their wobbliest wheels and tossing polite insults. "I'm at least a heptagon on weekends," proclaimed the red cart with the pride of a geometry textbook who'd just discovered jazz. "Nonsense," replied the blue cart. "Only a perfectionist thinks in polygons. Real carts express themselves as existential shapes." A referee, retired hairbrush with a whistle, quickly reviewed the rules. "No logical arguments, please. And remember, only metaphors after halftime." Mildred introduced herself. "I'm Mildred, rollerblading Pancake, available for breakfast or existential puzzling." Red cart tipped its front, bowing. "Can you settle our octagonal disagreement? Is it better to roll in circles of certainty or zigzag in reckless rectangles?" Blue cart rattled approvingly. "Or should we just invent a new shape altogether?" Suddenly, a cloud in the shape of a question mark drifted overhead and rained down paper clips and small The referee caught a yodel and announced, "Sudden shape. Contestants must demonstrate the most impressively pointless geometric move." Red cart began waltzing in a figure eight, while blue cart attempted a daring trapezoidal limbo under an invisible obstacle. Mildred's rollerblades sparked with inspiration. Perhaps she should propose a brand new shape for everyone to roll in. Join the contest by inventing a pancake-specific geometric maneuver. Interview the referee hairbrush about its past life. Attempt to skate under the raining yodels, collecting paper clips as souvenirs. Mildred, sensing the true heart of the tournament lay not in geometry but in stories, rolled up to the referee a distinguished hairbrush with bristles askew and a whistle dangling from a former handle. "Excuse me, wise referee, what brings a hairbrush to adjudicate a shopping cart? And have you always been a hairbrush? Or is there more to your story?" she inquired, clipping a yodel with curiosity. The hairbrush straightened its bristles, looking off into the hazy distance, as if remembering a time when conditioner wasn't just a myth. "Ah, my past life. I haven't always been the pillar of impartial judgment you see before you. Once, in another age, I was the celebrated handle of a gilded parasol, shading aristocratic noses during garden picnics and perilous lemonade duels. Its bristles trembled with nostalgia. Alas, one windy afternoon, I lost my post in a spontaneous waltz-off between marmalade sandwiches. It was then I found my calling, brushing out the messy tangles of sporting disputes, bringing order to chaos with nothing but a whistle and a well-timed sweep." Red cart and blue cart paused, their geometric acrobatics. The parade slowed, and for a moment, even the yodels seemed to listen. "There are stories in every bristle," the referee said. "Some of dreams, some of breakfast, and a few of weather-related existential crises." Webster the dictionary sniffed and quietly defined wistful reminiscence. Mildred spun a graceful circle on her rollerblades, then offered a syrupy grin to the hairbrush. "Referee, how would you like to join me and Webster on a spontaneous adventure? Perhaps together we'll all stumble into a new calling, or at least a memorable wrong turn." The referee paused mid-whistle, bristles quivering with the excitement of possibility. I haven't adventured since my waltz-off days, they admitted, but there's always room in my bristles for a fresh tangle. Letting out a ceremonial tootle, the hairbrush tucked the whistle into its bristle coat pocket and leaped onto Mildred's rollerblade, adjusting for balance as though it had always belonged there. As the trio scooted toward the village edge, past a hedge humming Beethoven's Ninth and a mailbox reading poetry to a skeptical squirrel, Mildred gazed thoughtfully at the horizon. Referee, when you lost your grand parasol job, how did you know what to do next? How do you find a calling when you're not entirely sure you're even a pancake? The hairbrush tilted wisely. Ah, Mildred, unlikely callings are woven from the stray threads of odd moments. I became a referee simply because, in the untidiest knot of chaos, I found room to be useful and it made me laugh. You follow the path that feels odd and a little thrilling, even if it means whistling at shopping carts or giving advice to breakfast food. Webster barked agreement, then flopped open to a random word. Serendipity. The wind seemed to nod. Together, they coasted past the edge of otherwise, the world opening ahead into a shimmering possibility, a land where umbrellas grew in meadows and clocks, sang discordant lullabies. The adventure beckoned with invisible signposts, unlikely callings, this way or possibly that way. And so, with a hairbrush at her side and a dictionary at her heels, Mildred chased her unformed destiny across a horizon that was never quite the same twice. As Mildred, Webster, and the hairbrush referee rolled, shuffled, and page flipped toward the unknown, the landscape began to fold in curious ways. Hedges tied themselves into nautical knots, the sky changed its flavor from orange marmalade to mint, and Webster started reciting words backward, which made it very difficult for anyone to take things seriously. Suddenly, the ground trembled not with danger, but with laughter. Up from a pothole paved with jelly beans popped a most unexpected figure. Mildred herself, or rather, another Mildred diadentical in syrup swirl, but wearing a jaunty top hat and tap-dancing shoes. "Oh, pancakes," gasped Mildred. "Am I seeing double? Or did I skate into a hall of syrupy mirrors?" Top hat Mildred tipped her hat and bowed. "Greetings, travelers. I am Mildred from the land of unfinished stories. I escaped when a plot twist failed to resolve, and now I help lost characters find their truest shapes. Whether they're breakfast food, bristly referee, or dictionary run amok, you wouldn't happen to be searching for a new calling, would you?" Surprised, all three nodded in unison. Evan Webster, who managed to produce a page that read only "absolutely," top hat Mildred winked. "Then follow me. There's a crossroads ahead, a place where every path you never took is waiting for your footprints. But beware, once you enter, even your wildest ideas might come true. You could end up an artist, a cloud herder, or a tap-dancing ? The original Mildred grinned and looked to her friends. What better adventure than one you could never predict even with a dictionary? With that, two Mildreds, a hairbrush, and Webster tumbled forward straight into the crossroads of impossible potential, where the next step always leads somewhere even stranger than before. Certainly, the crossroads of impossible potential shimmered beneath their feet, shifting like a quilt sewn from daydreams. 4 paths sprang open before them, each glowing with the hue of a different what-if. Path 1. The lane of library whispers. Books flickered on spectral shelves along this soft-lit road. If Webster, the dictionary, led the group here, he would find himself slowly morphing into a full-fledged encyclopedia, expanding, elaborating, and accumulating stories from every wanderer he met. His words might start to sprinkle tiny facts into every conversation, and soon he'd be called Professor Webster, responsible for interpreting dreams as definitions. The hairbrush referee, swept up in the scholarly quiet, might transform into an intellectual advisor, untangling knots of poetry and helping creatures find the right words for their tangled thoughts. Mildred herself, inspired, might shed her pancake form and become a living, rolling recipe, forever evolving, teaching others how to invent themselves from scratch. Path to the avenue of spontaneous parades. All along this street, confetti rained from invisible clouds, and every passerby marched to music only their shoes could hear. Should the group waltz down this way, Mildred would find herself rapidly multiplying. New Mildreds would spin off with every new dance move, leading her to discover parts of herself that were shy, bold, hilarious, or unexpectedly poetic. The hairbrush, swept up in the spirit of celebration, could realize their true gift lies in choreography, using those flexible bristles to orchestrate flash mobs wherever knots need to be untangled. Webster, by contrast, would become portable poetry, pages fluttering to the rhythm, offering verses so spontaneous that others would join in with unrehearsed joy. Path 3, the boulevard of unlikely inventions. Here, the air hummed with innovation. Spoons that predict rainstorms, socks that recite riddles, umbrellas that bloom when it's sunny. If they turn here, Mildred might transform into a famous inventor, her fluffy batter now electrically charged. She'd dream up new ways for breakfast food to solve ancient mysteries. The hairbrush referee, clawing through blueprints and tangled wires, could become a patent examiner, renowned for kindly granting patents on inventions that haven't even been imagined yet. Webster would gain a mechanical index that rearranges entries according to rhyme, not alphabet, for the sheer whimsy of it. Path 4, the path of reflection and shadow. Moonlight puddled along this mysterious trail, lined with mirrors and silent pondlets. By picking this direction, each companion might find themselves looking inward. Mildred facing reflections of her choices and doubts, gradually transforming into a wise guide for other pancakes and dreamers who feel unsure. The hairbrush might become a silent muse, inspiring tangled or bristled souls simply by being present. Webster would be able to reflect not just definitions, but hopes and old regrets, becoming a silent companion for dreamers and wanderers throughout the land. At the crossroads, Top Hat, Mildred turned and asked, "Which route do your hearts wish to try first? Or shall we split up and each discover our truest shape?" At the shimmering crossroads, Mildred, Webster, and the hairbrush referee glanced at one another, each feeling the pull of a path perfectly fit for their quirks and questions. And so, with a round of hugs, high fives, and 2 stray bristles exchanged as souvenirs, they agreed to set off separately, with Top Hat Mildred waving them onward. Mildred, the avenue of spontaneous parades. The moment she rolled onto the avenue, a gust of music whooshed up her frilly edges and spun her into a sea of parading creatures. Toasters with trumpets, turtles in tutus, and clouds wearing sunglasses. Each time Mildred wobbled or shimmied, a whole new part of her personality split off to lead a section of the parade. There was adventurous Mildred shuffling conga with the breadsticks, dreamy Mildred leading a waltz with friendly moonbeams, and even melancholy Mildred inventing a soulful pancake tango. Mildred discovered that she, or rather many she's, could be brave, silly, mysterious, and bold all at once. People watching saw not just one pancake, but a whole stack marching in joyous, unpredictable rhythm. By the end, Mildred knew she carried a little bit of every possible self, forever ready for the next spontaneous celebration. Webster, the lane of library whispers. Webster, the dictionary shuffled down the hushed lane. Books rustled softly, offering shy titles and unfinished sentences. As he creaked open his covers, he began absorbing new words, languages, and vivid stories. Every interested shelf sent him another narrative, and soon he found himself swelling into the size of an encyclopedic library. Passers-by stopped to ask for wisdom, dreams, and meanings. With each page turned, Webster felt his paper heart flutter. He wasn't just a collection of words, but a keeper of every tale and question ever wondered aloud. Surrounded by learning, Webster realized that curiosity would always be his truest calling, no matter how many chapters he contained. Hairbrush referee, the boulevard of unlikely inventions, bristles trembling with delight, the hairbrush paraded down the inventive boulevard, where tables hovered and boots recited song lyrics. In one booth, the hairbrush fixed tangled slinkies. At another, it invented a moonbeam comb for brushing away nighttime worries. Soon, animals and inanimate objects queued up, each bearing naughty problems. The anxious shoelaces, the twisted noodles, and even the stumped mathematician's spaghetti. With every swipe, the hairbrush unlocked another wild invention, like the decider hat, which helps pancakes choose between jam and syrup, or the unruffle muffler, which calms rowdy curtains at midnight. By journey's end, the hairbrush referee had a tray of patents, a trail of grateful and much tidier fans, and the thrill of knowing their purpose lay in wild, hopeful invention wherever tangles appeared. At sunset, the three friends trickled back to the crossroads, each changed, each carrying new roles and fresh confidence. Top hat, Mildred grinned, collecting their stories. So, what now? She asked, tiptoeing atop a breeze. We keep wandering, said Mildred, winking at all her possible selves. We share the words and inventions and celebrations we've found, said Webster, fluttering his pages. And we always help each other find our unlikely callings again and again, finished the hairbrush, waving a newly patented bristle. And off they went, ready for more impossibility, laughter, and adventure, knowing every path, however strange, had a bit of each of them waiting somewhere, sometime, always, upon the spiral crossroads gleam, where dreams and pancakes dared a team. Three wanderers met their callings wild, a searching book, a bristled sage, and breakfast's most adventurous child. Mildred spun through parades of selves, a ballroom of hope, a waltz on the shelves, learning she's many yet always one, leading each parade under a different sun. Webster's spine grew thick with tales, from whispered books and storied trails, no longer only words to lend. He kept all questions, end to end. Pages fluttered with wisdom bright, curiosity, his lantern light. The referee, a tangles bard, invented wonders, worked so hard. A bristle's sweep, a clever twist, solved every knot that dared exist, no longer lost between the rolls. With every sweep, untangled souls, three friends returned, transformations shared, bravely changed, whimsically paired. With every step, their legend grew, of shapes discovered, stories new, still wandering down paths untold. They spin through starlight, bright and bold, parading, pondering, building dreams, inventing more than what it seems. So take this echo tale unbound, each journey strange, each mystery sound, in lands where logic slips and bends, delight in what adventure sends. For somewhere in the elsewhere air, you'll find a pancake, bristles fair, and pages turning in the breeze, their laughter rustling through the trees. The end, unless, of course, it isn't. And so, in the land of elsewhere, where logic is gently outshone, Mildred, Webster, and the hairbrush, they simply parade ever on. No dusk nor dawn can quite contain their nonsense marching train. In every town, in every mind, their whimsical footprints remain. One day you might hear distant cheers, a parade led by breakfast and rhyme. Maybe a bristle will offer advice, or a page will flutter with chime. And should you find yourself searching for purpose or off-kilter glee, just listen for brass bands on breezes, and a waltz where you least thought there'd be. The parade ever on, with no end or start. Every pancake, each friendship, becomes its own art. So dream with your feet, step bold and ask why. Let invention or laughter be what you try. For in elsewhere, and perhaps in your heart, the parade ever on, and you're already apart. The parade gently dwindles to a shimmer in the distance, the music's laughter trailing away like warm syrup across a quiet morning. Mildred, Webster, and the hairbrush referee settle on a hillside of drowsy dandelions and let dreams flutter softly through their thoughts. Sometimes even the wildest adventurers deserve a gentle rest before the next delight unfolds. May your own dreams parade ever on, until you're ready for another peculiar journey. Rest well and return whenever you wish.